Good evening, everybody, and part 2 with me and Mark. Yes, sorry about yesterday. The computer went off, and I was in such a mess, and it took me ages to get back on. And I thought, no, I'll try to contact Mark, and I'll get back on. So thank you very much again for joining me tonight, Mark.
No problem.
Suicidal, being suicidal, how to deal with it, because last night we were trying to explain, I was telling you about where I was when I was in hospital and everything, and I came to a point of trying to about my shoelaces. They took my shoelaces off me. They gave me the first degree. They put me on the mental health act. And the trouble is, being suicidal, right? Do you? And I came up to the point and asked you this question: do you think it's a cop out? Do you remember what I said to you?
Yeah, you asked me that, and I don't. I answered that I don't think it is necessarily a cop out. I think it's quite a decisive and brave thing to do. Sometimes the easiest thing is to stick around when things are very, very difficult and try and ride it out. Some people aren't prepared to put up with a sad, miserable life, and yeah, it's a difficult one, really. I don't see it as a cop out, because I think just using those words, I think there's a little bit of a disservice to the intentions and the actions of those that do it.
Right. Okay.
I can see. I know there's the saying about it's the coward's way out, and to some degree, I would say that there is some justification for saying it's a cop out when you're talking about somebody that's killing themselves to evade justice. Like somebody who's up in court for something terrible. Like Fred West, for example. You could say that was a cop out because he left his missus to face the music, as it were.
But some people, Mark, when they are going through tough times, they get to a certain point in their life where they can't undo anything no more. They think, who am I going to turn to? People don't want to know me. I've done this and I've done that. And sometimes what you got to realize is sometimes people do turn their back when things are like friends of ours. Sometimes friends and other people, when we try to get help, sometimes they don't want to know, do they?
This is true. They've either heard it all before, or they might have problems of their own, or they just don't want to expose themselves to somebody else's misery because they might be enjoying their lives at the moment. They don't want that dark shadow or that dark mist of somebody else's problems infecting their space. And it's usually only when the inevitable has happened, where somebody has taken their life, and then people will turn around and say, oh, if only they'd come and spoken to me, if only they'd have raised their hand to say they were struggling or what have you. People by and large, I think, are rather, understandably so, preoccupied with their own lives, really.
Yeah, but I remember someone, you're into music, I remember someone, a singer, and he said, you'd be lucky to have 5 friends. 5 friends, right, in your life. You'd be lucky to have 5 friends who will be there for you. I can't remember. Charlie Lansborough sang 5 Fingers.
Right.
And he was saying, and when I saw him in concert, he said, he said, you'd be lucky to have 5 friends in this world who will really be there for you. And sorry?
No, I'd say that if you had 5 friends that would be there for you, I think you'd be more than lucky. I think you'd be perhaps the most blessed person on earth. I think you'd be extremely fortunate if you had one person there, really there for you when you needed them, who would drop everything, would put you first and what have you. Because it's something that we don't generally do as people, I think. So I think the 5 people is, maybe, I don't know. I would consider myself very, very, very lucky if I had one person there for me. I think I've got more than one. I know there's a few people out there that have got my back, and whenever I've tried to reach out in the past, they've been there.
Yeah. But the trouble is, so you're well liked. You're well liked, but there are people out there sometimes who do stupid things, say, and the next minute people will turn on to them, and because they can't cope no more, they think, oh well, it's the end of the world. No one loves me. No one cares. I'm gone.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's another double-edged sword, because it's a little bit like, the story of the boy who cried wolf. You're in a hopeless place, really, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You could have somebody that puts their hand up and asks for help every single time they need it, and to the people that are on the receiving end of those requests, it can sometimes be a little too often for their liking, and I think some people can be quite dismissive. It's like, oh, here he goes again. He's going on an emotional bender. We've heard it all before. And sometimes the danger of that is one day that person who is, for the umpteenth time being self-destructive, they just might take that step over that line, and do the unthinkable. It's a bit of a tricky one, really. Because we're asking who ultimately is responsible for somebody's frame of mind, and how that person is to be treated, and how that person is to be dealt with at that time when they are feeling suicidal. It's a difficult one, because you've got people who shouldn't feel a modicum of guilt after somebody's committed suicide. They blame themselves. We should have seen this coming. We should have done more. We should have phoned him up more. We should have gone round to see him more. Why didn't we see this? And there's all this soul searching going on. Who really is to blame? And I think it goes back to what I said at the start of our chat tonight. It is an act. It's the most decisive thing that somebody can possibly do. It's, you are in total control. I'm talking about the individual here who is feeling suicidal. And, the blame and the responsibility, whatever you want to call it, the onus, it lies with that person, because they have, for whatever reason, through mental illness or through being drunk or just not in the right place mentally at that time, ultimately it's them, it's their decision.
Yes,
but it opens up a massive. It's such a complex thing, I think, and because we're talking there now about people not being there for the distressed person because they've heard it all before, or they might not be a particularly pleasant person to be around. I know what you're saying there about that.
Yeah, it can be difficult. I want you to watch this video.
For free. Enjoy nail-biting thrills with hundreds of high-paying slots and live casino.
If you are over 50 and don't have life insurance, this video will show you how to apply for £250,000.
Don't worry about it, everybody. It's
YouTube revenue.
Revenue.
They're all
let me come back to you for a minute. I took it. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, but the trouble is with anything that in life, with when someone feels really, really low and really, really down, the doctors will come along and they'll go, right, okay, you got depression, you got schizophrenia, you got this and you got that, and really, they don't know what you got.
Yeah. Mental health, mental illness, the mind, individuals and their minds, it's not one size fits all. How can it be? We're all in different boats. We're all traveling through life at different speeds, different directions, to different destinations. How can we just be expected to have a label slapped on us and that will sort us out? Yeah, I agree with you there, 100%. But do we have the resources in the NHS or anywhere else to deal with every single person's needs? Sadly, I don't think we do.
And no, we don't. And that's why I was going to show this video. Thank you very much for bringing it up. And here we go. Put the advert to show you it now. Sorry, it's only the advert.
It's all right.
Standing 9 stories high, the Big Lots Behavioral Health Pavilion is America's largest center dedicated exclusively to child.
I can't see the video, Steve.
Health on a pediatric campus.
Can you? Oh, you can
Placing
now.
the pavilion centrally on our downtown campus speaks to Nationwide Children's commitment to connecting mental and physical health, viewing them as equally important. The 386,000 square foot pavilion prioritizes patient safety in a colorful, friendly environment for those dealing with behavioral health concerns. It uniquely integrates acute behavioral health services with intensive outpatient programs. Its a look and feel mirrors that of the main hospital, offering hope, optimism, and ensuring a consistent experience for patients across their care journey. And the need for this facility has never been greater. The Psychiatric Crisis Department is the cornerstone of the pavilion. Featuring 24/7 psychiatric crisis care, it's like an emergency room, but for children experiencing a mental or behavioral health crisis. Every feature is specifically designed to help kids in a crisis. Each piece of furniture was selected with the patient's comfort and safety in mind and was tested by children, patient families, and staff. The Psychiatric Crisis Department includes 9 consult rooms, allowing for more time for patients and their families to meet with their provider and offering a more conducive space than a typical emergency room. Rooms were designed to feel like a living room with calming colors and comfortable furniture. This provides a relaxing environment for patients to talk with providers about their mental health. After these conversations, the care team will determine the next level of care needed. The 10-bed extended observation suite is a unique, innovative feature of the pavilion. It allows our care team to observe the patient for a longer period of time, so they're making the best treatment recommendation. From here, a patient may be referred to the most appropriate level of care. The goal of this space is to try to prevent unnecessary inpatient admissions if possible. Youth with mental or behavioral health conditions can also have medical illnesses that require attention and treatment. The Psychiatric Crisis Department has 3 medical treatment rooms that are equipped for the assessment and treatment of medical conditions. Research shows that getting care right away after a crisis can help prevent another crisis, even if things already seem better. The Critical Assessment and Treatment Clinic is located on the 1st floor. The clinic provides care rapidly for urgent referrals from the Psychiatric Crisis Department or Behavioral Health Central Intake. It also can provide bridging treatment after discharge from one of the inpatient units until youth link with ongoing outpatient services. Research proves quiet reflection reduces stress and anxiety. That's why at the Big Lots Behavioral Health Pavilion, it was important to provide a sanctuary for our patients and families to reflect and find peace. Decades of research into pediatric illnesses such as prematurity and leukemia have shown us that science.
Okay, so what I'm trying to bring this up for is that in this country alone, we're not spending much money on mental health services. Not on even health, not even on children or adult services. Now, in America, they're spending, that building alone was £28 billion. £28 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they brought that money over to the UK and spent that money on mental health services, I don't think we have a problem in this country with mental health. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do agree. I mean, I was watching that and I was trying to marry that up with everyday life. You know, how much would that cost a person? Are we saying that should be available on the NHS?
Yes. Yes, good. Yeah.
How long would we anticipate somebody staying there for? What would happen to, if we're taking somebody out of everyday life and putting them into a facility like that, would our employers allow that? I was watching that and I was thinking, it looks great, it looks absolutely fantastic, and it would be the answer to so many prayers and so many problems. I think it almost seemed, though, like watching it and perhaps hearing the American accent, a little bit like a sort of rehab place for privileged people to go to. But I absolutely agree with you that something like that should be available to absolutely every single person that needs it.
Okay, so £28 billion, that's for the building alone. Also, if you want to get treatment, right, it comes out of their medical insurance. They haven't got an NHS over there, as you know.
Yeah.
So it comes out of their medical expenses. So they've got to kind of like find money up front before any person gets assessed by the mental health. So it's not like here in this country where we can kind of like get mental health treatment straight away with assessment. Over there, it's like 20. They're spending a lot of money out. But the trouble is, though, for that facility, come on, you've seen it. I don't think it's like a mental health facility. I think it's like a palace.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like a rehab place for the wealthy and the privileged. Like every single need is catered for. We've spoken in the past about what you need when, let alone suicidal, when you're feeling the depression coming on. You need to feel comfortable. You need to feel safe. Yeah. Those are the two important places you need to be in when you're in despair or depressed. You need to feel comfortable and you need to feel safe. Yeah, and definitely that place certainly offers those two things, and that every consideration, the furniture, the colour scheme, and then once you're in, then they'll assess exactly what sort of care you need, and it seems to be tailored to your actual personal needs rather than this system which we have here where it's, oh, you're depressed, there's some tablets, there's some therapy, off you go. It's not really personalized, which is what we were saying 5-10 minutes ago. And how can it be with the way that mental health is treated and the way that mental health is dealt with in this country? It's very, very, very standard. It's it's one size fits all. Yeah.
What do you suggest that? Say you were an MP, what would you suggest?
If I was an MP, I'd first of all be saying to Boris Johnson, you do not need paintings or artwork. What are you doing? I would say we do not need this yacht. What are you doing? So because the thing is, with regardless of what political party you support, it's always going to come down to money, and it's always going to come down to finance. I can't see there being any political will for a facility like that to be made available in Britain to everyday folks such as you and I. That's something for the wealthy and that's the privileged. It's a difficult one, really, because it's a complex issue. Again, is mental health and certainly, dealing with people with suicidal feelings. It's I don't really know, Steve. I wouldn't know where to start with. Apart from taking each and every single person individually and metaphorically,
and that's what
put an arm around them.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. It's the individual, because it's the individual person, it's the assessment, and that's what it comes down to. Because
and it also comes down to one of the questions I asked is how long would somebody be in there for? You can't rush recovery from mental illness or mental ill health. One size doesn't fit all. It might take somebody months to recover and to develop a more healthy mental outlook. Some people might be able to do it in a week and turn it around. Some people might need years. It's and time costs money. Time is money. There's that old saying. But it's certainly in this instance, I would like to think that if somebody was going through that, there'd be absolutely no time limit on the recovery aspects of it. However long is needed must be provided. But again, we don't really have that. We don't really have that, do we? Because in standard counselling, I think it's 6 sessions, and then you're expected to be armed with all the tools you need and to go on your merry way and make the changes that you need. I don't think 6 sessions is enough, personally. But there we go.
Beth said, "Evening, boys."
Hello, Beth.
I think she's trying to chase you.
It's a captivating conversation, right on the money mark. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all down to money, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Everything's down to money.
The trouble is, though, I remember being in when I was sectioned under the Mental Health Act.
Mm-hmm.
I lost all my dignity. Right? I was just being followed from pillar to post. Right? In a psychiatric unit. Mm. There was somebody outside my door 24 hours. If I wanted to go to the toilet, they would follow me.
Mm.
I know that you got to be kind of like supervised if you're in a really bad way. But the trouble is, I feel sometimes, I said this before, and I said this on television and radio. The trouble is, most people, when they're in the psychiatric unit, they just get what you call, what can I just say? They just get left for their own devices.
Yeah.
There is no kind of like, then next week you see a consultant and you're thinking, right, okay, you've got a problem, mate. I stick you on the mental health act for about a month, so you'll be in this hospital. Then we'll sort something out afterwards. I remember having home leave, and I was thinking, hey, I'm not in the army, They were giving me home leave, and these people from the mental health, this organisation, kept on coming in to me like every evening for the weekend and during the day saying, "Oh, you're all right, what you're doing." And I'm thinking, I can't even go hardly anywhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really tougher, isn't it, being But the trouble is that just want to finish off about the suicidalness. Do you think, with everything that's going on in this country, right, and with all the big high-end mental health services over in the US, do you think we are compared to them, or do you think that this country? I know you said that we need to do more, but do you think that we are behind the times with mental health?
Yeah, I think we are. And again, it all boils down to money. I would imagine that if we all, I mean, we all pay national insurance and everything. But, you know, over in America, you know, for treatment, if you need it, you pay for it and you get it. And they can afford to be big and in your face almost, you know, in most of the ways that American things are. In this country, there just isn't the investment, and I don't think, but I also think that this current government is guilty of many things, but one of them is the low priority that mental health seems to have in the general scheme of things. Their answer to mental health appears to be get everybody out to work. People need to be out working. That will sort all of their problems. And that isn't true at all. You know, I think that just puts more pressure on people, really, if they're really, really depressed. It's money. It's just a matter. But there's always money. You know, we always seem to find money when we need it. I'm talking about us as a country.
Yeah.
There's always a magical money tree for these things. And like I say, why is Boris Johnson spending all that money buying paintings or whatever it is he's decorating his place with, putting money into this yacht when we have people that are struggling literally because of what's happened over the last 18 months? Where's the duty to those people? You know, now more than ever.
Is it? It's not.
You gave me that statistic last night about the, you know, a monthly figure of people that have taken their own lives in this country, which I thought that might have been an annual figure.
No,
even if it was an annual figure, that'd have been way too many.
No.
I just, you know, and just saying that you recognise that people are struggling and there's a mental health problem and all the rest of it isn't enough. I know we can only do so much, or they can only do so much, but they're doing too much of the wrong thing, in my opinion.
I remember doing the Ask to do a video called This Is Me. I don't know if you've seen it. Right? That's the biggest thing I ever done in my whole entire life. I'm sorry, I've got to share this because at that moment in time in my life, I was put down too much in the press as being fat slob, doing this, that, I'm lazy, and all that. Saw it all, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I ain't got nothing to hide. I ain't got nothing to hide. And it was totally rubbish what they were saying. And the trouble is that when we went away and we got the help and come back and we lost all that weight, come back, the next minute the press and everything was going, oh yeah, they did well, they did all this lot. Then all the people that were banging onto us on Facebook or any other social media were coming back gradually. But then you had these people that were sucking the blood out of you all the time, you know? And there were several times, it wasn't because of my wife, I just felt like kind of like ending it right there. But I was so proud of what I did. I went away, come back. Okay, it took me 6 months to lose quite a lot of bit of weight. I think it was about 11 stone old in 6 months. And I worked for that, and I came back. And the trouble is, people with mental health problems or people who's got, you know, medical problems or other problems, you know, we are so attacked quite a bit by people when people don't hardly know anything about us.
No, I mean, you were set up as a figure from where I was sitting and watching it as all this was going on you were almost set up as like a figure of fun, somebody to be beaten and mocked. And when you tumbled, shall we say, from the progress that you made, there was people. There seemed to be people waiting for that to happen, and they were rubbing their hands. You know, like, oh, here he is. You know, he's here we go again. Blah blah blah. But what you should be doing is, you know, you're here. You've come through the other side. You're doing something positive with what you're doing tonight and every other night. You're talking to people. I don't always have the answers to the questions that you ask. I can only give my opinion. You're basically here to tell the tale, Steve. And a lot of people, had they been put under the same scrutiny, ridicule, and just general nastiness that you had, you know, I don't think that there'd been many
beyond the scenes, though. Sorry, I've got 5 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, though, when all this is going on, what you got to realize is when people said, "Okay, Steve, go to boot camp. We'll help you to lose weight and all that lot." But the trouble with me was that I had problems with my heart. What people don't realize is, you know, and the trouble is, when I came back from boot camp, I lost about 11 stone. But then I collapsed, then I went to hospital and everything else again. Now, that was done because it was made, I kind of like was made to do it. I was made to go there and to be to be a showman, say.
Yeah.
You know, for the press.
Yeah.
You know, we were getting literally press, you know, money flew at us each way. People were kind of saying to us, "Oh, we'll give you so much this, so much that if you do this." And the trouble is, and the trouble is, and that makes you suicidal. Okay, we went for it. We were promised by this morning and this group that they will help us, and that's why we did it. But we didn't want to be monocued over it, you know, and things like that. So, you know, it's terrible, and that's why I tell people now, whatever you do with the press, like all these dole programs now, like unemployment things on Channel 5 and all that, be careful what you're doing, because they don't care about you. All they care about is making their program. If they can make your program, and if they can kind of say, okay, get the figures in, I think we had around about 36 million people watch that program. And the trouble is, you know, for some people, it was, well, for everybody, it was hatred towards us.
Yeah.
But they don't know what the story was behind it. You know,
no, because the whole thing, like I say, that's the impression I got, is that you were almost being set up to fail. And when the fall came, that you could sense that hands were being rubbed, and it was like, this is wonderful. Here he is, he's failed. Which is disgusting, absolutely disgusting. I think this is what's wrong with the country at the moment. I think the government is guilty to some degree of cultivating this culture of demonizing people, demonizing people that can't work, demonizing people who are ill. I think it's completely wrong.
We had sorry, keep on thinking.
No.
We had, but this is all in with the topic of suicidalness. I remember when we had the, I can't remember what the paper was called now. We did the full story on this. Not the Mirror. We had the Mirror. They were our sponsors. We had another paper, right? You offered us $5,000 to do the story, right? So They did a story on us. Okay, so we got $5,000 for it. We got five. Now, do you know where that money went and that $5,000 went? That's it. People thought, oh yeah, we're spending it and all that, but we were paying for our boot camp for 6 months being there. So every penny that was coming in, right? Every penny that was coming in was being spent out on our boot camp. And the trouble is, a lot of people were saying, oh, we were handing a freebie and we threw it back in their face. We won't get no freebie. We were living in the caravan in Hastings, in a place called what was the place called? Battle, a place called Battle, right, in Hastings. Living in the caravan, we had to pay for our own gas bottles, right, in the caravan, right, and that was it. So the story behind it is that you can be monocued in the paper, you can be pumped down, you feel suicidal, things like that. But the trouble is, though, what you've got to realise at the end of the day, we're all human. Right? And I lost a lot of friends because of this program. I lost a lot of people. All right? Now, there's some people who's just recently come back to me and said, oh, Steve, I'm so sorry, but can we kind of like carry on where we finished here? And I said, well, if you weren't there in the beginning with me and you put me down, why should I offer you to come back? But I have, because I wanted to change my life. I wanted to change my faith. You know, I wanted to change everything about me. You know, and that's one thing what I wanted to do, and that's what I did. But what people are wanting to ask, I know what people's asking me now. People's like saying to me now, what am I doing now? Well, the trouble is, what I'm doing now is that what people don't realise is that I've got some art problems and I can't have no operation. So I'm waiting for to have a kind of like a valve put by my heart. I can't remember what it's called. Sorry? A stent. Right? So soon I get the stent, I've been offered operation. Now, the trouble is, no, I'm not getting it off the NHS. So don't worry about that. I've got to pay for it. Right? And it took us a long while to pay for that too. Right? So I haven't, I've done no GoFundMe pages and nothing. Sorry, Mark, I'm not trying to get you boring and things like that. But people are asking me questions, so I want to get it out.
Yeah.
So, and that's it. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm paying for my own stuff. All right. So I will pay for my surgery and whatever. And ever, I've been offered. I can't work at the moment. I totally agree, and because I'm not allowed to. But I tried. But I do my own things. Like I belong to PHC, Public Health Coalition. I help out with a charity called a Food Bank. I do things like that. So, a lot of people don't realise what I do. I run the stroke club where I live. So there's a lot of things I do. And the trouble is, whatever you do in life, and just think what you're doing in life, because every time you put somebody down, right, for you, that could be okay because you're thinking that, okay, it's not my problem. You want to kind of like mock them and get them, put them down. But soon you put that person down, you don't realize what they got to go through to come back up, bring them back up again. And Mark, I'm saying this now. Why I did this is not because the glorification of it, but I wanted to help people, right? And which I have. I've helped quite a lot of people. I've had around about 26 people gone to rehab. I've had people get counselling. I've helped quite a lot of people. Not just me, you, everybody. And that's it. But with suicidal in this, so I'm having a rant, but being suicidal, what we got to do with being that is that I think we need to support each other and just keep on lobbying the government. I don't know if we're going to get anywhere, but that's another story, isn't it?
It is, and trying to soften the blow of life for people, to prevent them entering that dark place as well. It perhaps is something that we all need to focus on. It's a massive undertaking.
Yeah, I know, but it's so tough, Mark, isn't it?
It is. It's one of those issues that tugs me from several directions. You know, so the notion of suicide and the act of suicide. Like I said last night, I actually sympathise with it. I don't condemn it.
Yeah. I'm so lucky, because I've got people like you, Beth, and everybody that if I can, and the class, everybody is friends and everything, and I just find it sometimes so difficult. So I'm trying to I'm welling up here. I'm trying to I find it very difficult sometimes to show my emotions because I like to be the strong character person. Yeah. I like to be there for helping other people. But, every one of us has got feelings. And the trouble is, when somebody, again, puts you down and you're in that pit of despair, right, and you're feeling like really low, and so sometimes, it's very difficult to get out. Do you agree?
I agree. I mean, you're saying there, you're welling up, have a cry, mate. Let it out. You put enough into this, get something back from it for a change. Just if you want to sit there and tell us how hard it is and cry, share it with us. Let us know.
Yeah,
there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, I know. But it's been really hard because rejection stuff like that. I don't do TV no more. I like to get away from that. But all I want to do at the moment now is just to help people. That's all I want to do. And
you are, Steve. You're doing your bit. You're making a difference. You're leaving a footprint somewhere with the work that you're doing, and you've come through the other side. That's not to say that the future is going to be rosy and everything for you or for me or for anyone else, because we don't know. But you've come through it. I've come through it, and I'm quite sure there's people very, very, very happy that we have, and we should be happy about that ourselves. And that's something for us both to pat ourselves on the back about. That sounds terribly glib, doesn't it? Really, saying it like that, because it almost, what I'm trying to say is that, with the whole thing. So I'm trying to reach out to you now with how you're feeling about yourself and how people have made you feel, and and it did make you feel suicidal. You need to celebrate what you're doing and get something back from it yourself, because you're constantly giving.
Yeah.
We both have got a lot to be thankful for, and we both have a lot to be proud of ourselves for.
I know.
And there's people watching this who may be very, very depressed right now, and both of us know what that's like.
Yeah.
We understand, and we'll never, ever be able to present definitive answers to people, but hopefully they'll hear us too chattering away, and they'll realise they're not completely on their own. And you've always put invitations out there for people to talk to you about the problems. So
yeah, okay, guys, we've got a telephone line. It's 0795 227 3866. If you're feeling like low and everything, do not just do not be alone. Just give somebody a ring, and we'd be there. Or we've got some other stuff too. We've got counsellors as well, really good counsellors and everything. And and I don't think Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I've got to go because I'm getting a bit me. But thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll see you next Monday. All being well.
Yeah, I need to get my Anki out. Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for everybody for see you later. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Where's my hand? There it is. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.